Perfect. And I am really excited to introduce our interviewer this evening, Jeannie Bender Irvine. Jeannie is an accomplished children's book author and editor for Peanut Publishing. That publishing company is in Seattle, Washington. She has been on a quest to find new books offering peace, love, and spiritual guidance. When Jeannie read Denise's book, she found exactly what she was looking for and is happy to be with us tonight to share this book's spiritual message with all of us. Thanks and welcome, Jeannie.
Thank you so very much. And I'd like to welcome you all tonight. Thank you so much for coming. These are exciting times, good and bad, but mostly good. And it's absolutely my pleasure to introduce Denise Bachrodt, who is my longtime dear friend and an amazing, amazing author of a beautiful spiritual book, Love Conquers All, which I hope you all are either reading now or interested in reading. And as a matter of fact, I have it on my phone as an ebook, as well as the physical book at my home. So it is available in all kinds of formats. But I want to say hello, and it's nice to meet all of you. And Denise often carried, I'm going to give you a little story about what I noticed about Denise a couple of years ago. She often carries a notebook with her, but I never realized the magnitude of her writings until one day when I visited her home. Denise took me upstairs to her office, and there I saw how much she had written. On a large table were hundreds of pages of her writings. Denise told me she was organizing her notes and had decided to create a book. Well, I was very impressed, and even more impressed when I read her book, Love Conquers All. And today, it is my pleasure to interview Denise Bachrodt, and I want to thank you, Denise, and I want to thank everybody for inviting us to be here today. So Denise, I've prepared some questions to ask you, and at the end of the interview, we will be asking questions as we mentioned. So Denise, I've read your book from cover to cover, and I'm very impressed. You have very carefully and clearly explained how love conquers all. Your words are guiding and inspiring, and I found myself reading a few chapters of your book each day. You have a gift, Denise, and a wonderful message to share with us. Where did your spiritual journey begin?
Oh, Jeannie, thank you, number one, for the introduction. Thank you for being my dear friend and mentor with your going on your 5th children's book and my first. And here you are helping me now. Thank you. And thank you, Amy French, for having me on the Roaring Fork Zoom meeting. And I appreciate all the Roaring Fork members who are here tonight, as well as my dear friends and family. My brother Frank just joined us too from New Jersey. So we have people from everywhere. Marlene is from Sedona, Arizona. Jeannie's from Cabo San Lucas. As I said, my brother's from New Jersey. Christine drove in from Denver and turned on the computer. Thank you. And Krista's coming from the Aurora Borealis. So I appreciate you all being here. And hopefully you will find this very beneficial. And I'll just show you what the book looks like in hardcover, The Love Conquers All. Okay, Jeannie asked me, how did you start your spiritual journey? Well, it happened long ago. One day, I had a terrible day at IBM, and I was driving home toward Boulder when I decided to pull off and visit this little chapel right outside of Boulder. I walked into the chapel, walked all the way up to the front row, sat down, and looked at this beautiful statue of Mary, Jesus's mother. And I thought to myself, which I was in my self-pity pot, thinking, oh my goodness, I had such a day today. And you look so beautiful. I said, you never had to sell computers. And you had such an easy life. And then all of a sudden I heard this voice, and she said, you think I had it easy? She said, I was pregnant before I was married. And then I watched what they did to my son, who did nothing wrong, be crucified on the cross. Well, at that point, I was apologizing profusely. I felt so badly. And then I began to hear her words of comfort, wisdom, and guidance. And as I was walking out of the chapel, I thought, what just happened to me? And I opened the car door, and I was overwhelmed by a scent of roses. And that's when it was proof to me that that was Mary. And she was there guiding me all through everything I was going through in my life, and that I wasn't alone. So that episode began my spiritual journey.
My gosh, wow, Denise, what a beautiful story. I can just imagine how you felt that day with the Blessed Mary and the smell of roses and everything that happened to you. It was a truly amazing moment, I'm sure. And when you were sitting in your car smelling those roses, it was just like a message to you, wasn't it? And so my question is, what do you do next? I mean, what did you do next?
You know, I was overwhelmed by not only hearing Mary's voice and then smelling this beautiful fragrance, which was her perfume, that this actually did happen to me. And then I was also comforted at the same time, because I knew I wasn't alone going through whatever situation I needed to go through in life, that God and Mary would be there with me, guiding me every step of the way. And then I drove home.
And did you write down your experience?
Well, that would be the logical thing. But no, it took me years before I started to write. I would just visit that little chapel every now and then, whenever I was troubled by whatever. And I would hear Mary's messages of guidance and comfort and wisdom. And it just gave me a great deal of peace. And it wasn't until years later, I think in 2016, did I decide to write the book.
Well, I do remember through the years you with your notebook, and I was really impressed when I saw all the writings you had done on the table in your office that day. And so when did you actually decide to write the book, Love Conquers All?
It wasn't until 2016 that it dawned on me, my goodness, Denise, these messages are so good and powerful. The world needs to hear them. So that's when I began. And the book is a compilation of messages from 2003 to 2018. And I still receive messages, but they're in my podcast that I record twice a week.
Yes, and your book really does give guiding words of wisdom and encouragement. And I do find that I really enjoy picking it up and reading a few chapters at a time each day, especially on the days when I'm kind of down. I find that the book is uplifting and it really helps encourage me through your messages. And so I want to thank you for writing this book, Denise. And I'm just curious, where did you come up with the title? It's so good. Love Conquers All.
Well, this is really God's book, Love Conquers All, because I asked God, what do I call this book? And he told me, love conquers all. And then I thought, well, of course, God is love and he conquers everything. That makes sense. And
It's, oh,
go on. No, I also asked him, well, what should the cover look like? And that's when he told me it needed to be mauve and then with a huge red heart in the center. And that would overlay a New York skyline. And then people would look up toward the heart. So the book is for everyone to read. Each chapter, each message starts out with Dear Child, because we're all children of God. So it doesn't matter how old we are, we're all children of God.
well, that's really, really beautiful. And reading your book, your writing style is so eloquent, and it just is calming and encouraging and positive and beautiful, just like you speaking to us today. That your beauty resonates through your experiences. And so I know from writing books that I find it quite difficult at times. And I was just wondering, did you find the writing process difficult?
That's a good question, Jeannie. And my answer is no, because it's really God's book. It's God's words. It's Mary's words. I was just the scribe. I was just taking dictation. I would write each message. I would have a spiral notebook and begin each message with Dear Child. And then I would hear Mary or Jesus speaking to me in one sentence at a time, and I'd just write it down. So that part of the book was very easy. The part that was a little more difficult was when I had to compile these 14 spiral notebooks of messages into chapters, and those chapters needed to have a theme to them. So then I had to dissect all the messages I had enough material, that's for sure. I had to dissect the messages according to that theme. So each chapter will go from 2003 to 2018, but apply to the theme.
Okay, so about 15 years of messages?
Yes.
Wow. And yet you never waver in the book on your conviction that love conquers all. And it's such a beautiful spiritual book. And because it comes directly to you and through you. And how do you think the book relates to your life?
Well, that's a really good question too. It's given me a great deal of comfort and peace during difficult times, but it also offered a great deal of encouragement and hope. And it can help many people today. We all need to return to God, especially the way our world is today. It's so polarized. If more people, God really wants us to use our free will. We can choose good or evil. And that's what I believe we're seeing in this world today, a battle of good versus evil. If we used our free will, returned to God, chose good, we could have peace on earth. When I was on retreat in December of 2017 at St. Benedict's Monastery, it was a dry year. I was walking down a dirt road. We didn't have much snow at that time. And I asked God, what do you make of this world, God? People are despairing between government corruption, sexual abuse, human trafficking. They've given up hope. What do we do? And you know what God told me? He said, all this needed to rise to the surface so we all could become aware of what's actually happening in our world and how we'll no longer tolerate this behavior, and it's paving the way for peace on earth.
Well, that's really, really beautiful, Denise. And thank you for that incredible message. And I also know, as your friend, that You also are very much into the power of meditation, which is a wonderful practice because it frees our minds to be open to messages and present awareness. It's comforting to know that your messages are about good times to come. Has that always been the message?
I would say 90% of the messages are positive and talking about much better days are coming, full of peace, joy, love, and happiness. But there's that 10% where God really wants us to return to Him, to use our free will and to ask for what we want. He's willing to give it to us. He can change our world in an instant, but He wants us to use our free will to ask Him for it, and then we will receive it.
Beautiful. And how do you go about meditating? I know there's many different procedures or processes.
Forms, I know I have three friends that I can see right now, maybe more in this group tonight. We do a form of meditation called centering prayer. Father Thomas Keating, Basil Pennington, and William Menninger got together back in the 60s and said, what do? We have these kids coming to our door asking us how to meditate. Otherwise, we're going to go to India to learn. And we hear that there's some kind of meditation in our Christian tradition. Well, these three priests got together and decided to bring back centering prayer to the entire planet. This is a contemplative prayer that was done before Christ was born, the Desert Fathers. And this form of prayer, we meditate for 20 minutes. We just sit silently, close our eyes, set our little timer, and we do it twice a day. One time we do it for healing, another time it's just for maintenance. And when we close our eyes, if we find ourselves being caught up in our to-do list for the day, what we do ever so gently is return to our one syllable word. It could be God, peace, love, whatever resonates with you. Ever so gently in your mind, you remember, you say that word. My word is God. There are some times when I sit to meditate, I say God about 2,000 times because I'm very distracted. And then there's other times that 20 minutes will go by in 2 seconds. So that's what helps me get through.
Well, that's a beautiful message as well, because some of us have meditated and some haven't, and it's a wonderful way, like you said, of finding peace and focusing in these very difficult times, because they are these days, and we're struggling to find ways to cope with a lot of decisions to make that are different than what we're used to in our normal everyday lives, because of all kinds of outside forces that are trying to affect our health, influence our decisions every day. And so it's important to focus and maintain our faith in times like this that are so chaotic in the world we live in. And meditation is one way of maintaining our faith. How else do you maintain your faith, Denise, in these difficult times?
Okay. Yes, I do meditate every day, and I try to be mindful of God and everything that I say and do. I try. It doesn't always happen. And all of us need to place our faith, hope, and trust in God and know that He sees the big picture and we do not. So we need to trust Him and know that what He's telling us is the truth. Meditation gives us a chance to just stop and allow God to talk to us versus us always praying and asking God for everything. Okay. So this is one way to do it. Another way to do it and to stay happy and centered is just watch enough news to be informed, not inundated. Okay. And continue to be positive, know that God is handling everything. We give it to him, he'll take care of it. And know that all is well and being made well, and that he hears our prayers and answers them. But we need to ask him first, and our prayers will be answered. There's actually 3 things you'll find when you read my book that are redundant in my messages that we absolutely need to pray for every day. Peace on earth, the conversion of the evil ones, and for God's intercession with our world leaders. This is vitally important, and we need to encourage others to do so too.
Yes, it's a beautiful, beautiful message, Denise. And in reading your words, I find myself found at peace, and you give us peace through the words that are given to you. In your books, do you have a favorite chapter or a favorite section of the book?
Yes, I find the most inspiring section is chapter 5, because it talks about love. There's one portion where it's a few pages on what is really love, another portion on courage. And we need to walk in blind faith today and know that God's handling things. We've given him the problem, we've given him the world and said, please make it better. We need peace on earth. And there's another portion on hope, which is essential for our world today.
Yes, and you know, this book and these messages, if they're repeated by more and more people, the more and more the message gets out. And that's why this book is such a wonderful tool, because it keeps us focused on what to pray for, what to hope for, with the theme of world peace as a goal, which is such a beautiful message. I think it's a message that if more of us carry with us, it would be so much a better world. And what a better way to present it than messages of hope and peace and love. I mean, it's just a beautiful platform, Denise. Thank you for writing it. And that's why your book, Love Conquers All, is on my phone and at my nightstand, because it is so encouraging and so very important to me. And it also, one of the other things I really love about your book and about you is how much you encourage prayer, because we all know how powerful prayer is. It's such a strong, positive conviction to pray for ourselves, pray for somebody in need, or just as you say, to pray every day. And so I want to thank you for encouraging prayer, and I'm sure you realize how powerful it is. Thank you for including that in your message.
Thank you. Well, Jeannie, I think God gave us, no offense, COVID happened, but in that, God gave us all a chance to slow down, to use it as a reset, to reevaluate what's really important in our lives, and to make those a priority again, whatever qualities they are, however we feel. It did give us a chance to, oh, wait a minute, I've got time now. Oh, I guess I can pray or turn to God. Gee, you know, he was waiting for us all along, but we finally get to do that. So that's the good part of being quarantined, or, you know, in this time. It could be a huge spiritual awakening for our entire world, our entire planet.
Yes, absolutely. And you have another platform other than the book and these incredibly wonderful Zoom meetings. You have a podcast. So can you tell us about it? Where is it? How long is it? What
Oh,
are your messages there?
thanks, Jeannie. In my podcast, as I said, the book goes up until 2018. I started the podcast 2019, and I record it twice a week, just 2 or 3 minutes long. So it's not going to take your entire day. If you have iTunes, the address is Love Conquers All, LLC. If you just use your host computer site, it's Love Conquers All, LLC .podbean, like jellybean.com. And you can access my podcast that way.
And are they regular times?
No, it's usually Tuesday morning and Saturday mornings.
Okay, so the podcast is something we can go in and
Yes.
reference.
I have
And-
about 145 recorded already.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So you could just go into different days. But the
So
messages
are,
are positive. They're so positive, the messages.
are these new messages or are
Yeah.
they part from the book?
Thanks, Jeannie. They're new messages. They're not from the book. In fact, God is telling us now we need to pray for our world because it's in dire need of prayers. Evil forces are attempting to overthrow our government. We have to pray that this does not happen because God hears our prayers and answers them. Everything, all the messages I'm receiving are true. God, Mary would never lie to me. We just need to know that better days are coming, full of peace, joy, love, and happiness. We need to know that peace on earth is on its way and that Christ's second coming is just around the corner. And ours will be the generation to experience that.
Oh, that's really a beautiful, positive message for everybody today to know that it's right around the corner and we're here to experience it. That's a wonderful, wonderful message. And because I've read your book and I continue to go back and read it as I go through my days, it's also good to go on your podcast and be able to read your current messages. And thanks for sharing some of them with us. And yes, it's a special place to go. And also, if we'd like to contact you, you have a contact section in a website. And
Yeah.
it's also a place where we can buy your book, right?
Yes, my website is loveconquersall.llc.com. I can answer questions at that point. And if you were interested, if you haven't as yet purchased the book, if you're in the Valley here, you can just email snowmassbookstore@gmail.com. That's the monastery bookstore in Snowmass. They can either arrange for you to pick it up at the bookstore or they can mail it to you. And then if you do not want to go that route, you can order it online from Balboa, BALBOA press.com, Amazon.com, or barnesandnoble.com. So those are the areas. Yes.
Wonderful. And I remember buying the ebook on Amazon and the other book on your website. So it was all very easy to receive it. I know Nancy Kiefer just bought your book recently and has enjoyed reading it. And hopefully she'll get a chance to share some of her comments in a few minutes because I'm almost done with the question and answer section. And I just wanted you to know that one of the things I really love about your book is that you don't actually have to read it from chapter 1 to chapter 8. I find that I can open it up to almost any section and get a message for the day. And of course, I have underlined sections of messages that I feel have helped me more than others because I have favorites myself. And so I just want you to know this book is so helpful in so many ways and such a wonderful tool to have in our lives. And so I am finished with the question and answer section of our interview today. So if Amy is nearby to maybe open up the question and answer section, I think that her intent was for anybody who has a question to unmute your site and ask questions of Denise. So would anybody like to ask a question?
I would just like if I can do a statement. I know Denise very well, and I've spent a lot of time with her. And, you know, I have never realized everything she said. And I enjoyed Denise so very much listening to this. I was hiding myself because I'm trying to unpack at the same time, but I listened to everything. And it's very enlightening. And, you know, I can tell you all, I believe in God. I'm not very religious. I'm Jewish. And it is, for me, it doesn't matter. I was raised by Catholic governors and not very um, how do you say, religious parents. And my love and understanding is God and what he brings us. It doesn't matter which religion. So I just wanted to put my 5 cents in and tell you that.
Thank you, Christine. I'm so glad. Thank you for your comments and thank you for being in my life. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Me too.
Hmm.
And Peter says him too.
Oh, good. Thank Peter too. That's Christine's husband. Okay. Hmm.
Are there other questions? Maybe Nancy?
Actually, I don't have any questions because I've listened to Denise speak several times. I think you do a phenomenal job and you really get your message out there, and it's very empowering. And I'm very proud of you, and you make us all think. And so I'm very thankful for that.
I appreciate your comments, Nancy. Thank you for being here tonight. You're an inspiration to me too, with all that you say and do. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mhm.
I have a question, but I want to wait and make sure that if you all have questions, you have a chance first, please.
So Denise,
Mhm.
I'm a Catholic and our priest is a very devout um, follower of Mary and speaks a lot of Mary at our church and, you know, praying to Mary as an intercessor to Jesus Christ. So I love how you have each one signed as BV for Blessed Virgin
Mhm.
and Christ. My question is, when you were hearing
Mhm.
their voices, I've
Yeah.
always, ever since I was a child, and I chose Bernadette as my confirmation name because Bernadette, the Blessed Virgin appeared to her. I always thought it would be a wonderful thing to have an interaction with the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I wonder if you, when you heard their voices, Mary and Jesus's voice,
Mhm.
what did they sound like? Did they have Middle Eastern accents? Did they sound American? And did you ever have a vision?
Mhm. Thank you. Those are good questions. No, I never had a
Did you
vision.
ever see them? Okay.
You know, thank you for making me think about it because I did have a vision once. There was a time in my life when I was terrified. I was going through a really difficult situation. I was so terrified that my internal organs were shaking. I've never had that happen before. And I had a massage. That didn't stop. The masseuse said, you need to come to grips with what you're afraid of. And da da da. So when I went to sleep that night, I was awake and it was wee hours of the morning. And the Blessed Mother stood by my bed and she put her hand on my solar plexus and they stopped shaking. It was that quick. I thought I was dreaming. When I woke up that next morning, everything was calm. And I thought, my goodness, that was Mary. She came to me and she was dressed like a Carmelite nun. And it dawned on me, you know, later that that's what happened. Her voice is so comforting and so calming and so gentle. She's speaking to a child, because we're all children of God, not to worry, not to fear. We're with you. We're with you always and in all ways. So, and Jesus's voice was a little more commanding. I think I referenced his quote once in the book where he said he had to send his mother to earth. I mean, now through spiritual hearing, or people might have visions, to help us, to alert us that we need to return to God now. This is vitally important. And that's how I heard Jesus's message. And it's not just me, and we all have gifts, each and every one of us. I just happened to get this gift later in life, or slow down enough to hear it. And many people are receiving messages all over the world right now. It's that urgent, so that we all return to God. And a scholar told me one time, if 10% of our world, our planet, returned to God, prayed to God, that would be the tipping point, and we would have peace on earth. And that's what God tells me. We will all see it, peace on earth. And it will be the two things we will abide by when we have peace on earth. We will love God with our whole heart and soul, and we will love our neighbor as ourselves. So with that, you don't need all these rules and whatever. We will be good and kind to each other. And I believe our world is really on the precipice of a new spiritual awakening. And it's happening now. As dark as it might seem, this truly is a battle of good versus evil. God assures me good shall conquer evil. And we will see all this happening in our lifetime. So just stay close to God, and he will guide us every step of the way through whatever we're going through. As small as the task might be to a huge, large decision, he's there for us. Yeah.
Yes.
Keep
One
faith.
other thing I wanted to ask you, being a Catholic, have you ever notified the Vatican, or has anybody in the Catholic faith ever encouraged you to notify the Vatican about these experiences that you've had?
That's a very good question. And I didn't think about doing that simply because I think I'm not real familiar, number one, on how to do that. I see a huge hierarchy of people you need to go through before you get approval. Mary and Jesus just want me to get this message out to everyone and anyone who will listen. And it'll give you such comfort and guidance. And I'll just do it that way. And if by chance someone picks it up and goes, oh, who are you? Did you know that what you get is called a Lucasian or something like that? I said, no. Or did you know you're a median? No. What's a median? I mean, we all have gifts. God gave us all gifts. This is just happened to be the one I have. And I just want to get the message out to as many people as I can. But if you know the Pope really well and you could call him, tell him, I'd be happy to tell him about these messages.
Hey, Denise, do you still go to the monastery a lot?
I listen to the monastery Zoom masses on Sunday because the monastery's closed right now. Most of the monks, they're 70 on up.
Yeah.
And they're being super cautious, and thank God they're healthy. But that's why I said, if you wanted to pick up a book from the monastery, you can email the bookstore and they could arrange to either leave it outside the bookstore for you or what have you. But they're being really cautious now. Yeah. But I love those monks. They're very insightful. I love their sermons or homilies. We're having a half day of prayer this Saturday on Zoom, January 23rd, where Father Terry Ryan, good Irish priest, grew up in the Bronx, has some great stories about his sister Maureen, and he just brings God to us in real life, so yeah, it fortifies me. I
Good.
do it that way. But I'm just not, I mean, this is not just for Catholics, it's for the whole world. When I heard Mary's voice the first time, no offense, Christine, she sounded to me just like a Jewish mother, with the guilt, because she is a Jewish mom, like, you think I had it easy. I thought, oh my gosh, I really overstepped my boundaries here, So, yeah. So I feel that all of you have a spiritual practice. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here tonight. And I just want to encourage you to keep it going. No matter how you do it, no matter how you meditate, it could be the Eastern way, the Christian, it doesn't matter. You take some time for God and ask him whatever, and he will give it back to you tenfold. We just need to do that in our world right now, to bring our world back up to this spiritual awakening that we're finally going to have. So I really appreciate you all being here. This is wonderful.
Denise, I'm so sorry I joined you so late. I'm in Florida and I got my time a little mixed up. And
Yeah, you're 2 hours ahead of us.
I know. And then I missed you by a half an hour because I was so, it's just, your book comes at a really interesting time. I just received a book calling Winning the Battle for Your Soul. It's a story I would recommend you read. You would love it. The story is of a journey of a man, a Colombian man, who was captured, and God gave him an entire vision. I don't know that he actually saw God. He gave him all this information, just dropped it into him. And it's amazing, but I just got this book, and then I saw that your book was here. And then, today is the feast of Our Lady of La Salta in France. And she came in 1840 something to 2 children.
Oh,
So, it's just, there's something going on right now. Like you said, we do need to pray. But I've felt that very strongly, and too many things are falling into place, and things don't fall into place like this, your book, this day, without God's intervention.
I totally agree. Let me have the name of your book again. I'm going to write it down.
Okay. It's called Winning the Battle for Your Soul.
Wow.
And you can get it on Amazon. It's so little, you have to stop yourself from reading it fast. Because really, like your book, it's more of a book you should read slow and reflect. And the person who actually compiled it is Christine Watkins, Watkins.
Okay.
I think all of you would enjoy it. But anyhow,
thank you.
It came at the same time that your book came up, and I'm like, wow, powerful.
It is powerful. Thank you.
It is.
I think we're all getting the wake-up call now.
I think
God's
so.
saying, do it now. I mean, we heard about John the Baptist and how he was preparing people for Christ. And I'm not John the Baptist, but many of us are getting messages now to let the world wake up. Now's the time. If God said he's coming, second coming for our generation, we better really start praying hard for our world. Because, as much as the media and the news paint such a negative picture, all my messages are so powerful and they're so positive. They keep saying that peace, joy, love, and happiness is here now. That they also tell me that we are on the verge of 1,000 years of peace. Ours is that generation. So I'm excited. I feel like maybe this year, of course, I asked God, are we going to have peace on earth this year? And because I'm impatient. And God said, it will be much more peaceful. So I believe it's within our reach. We just have to stay close, stay positive. If you have a little prayer group, whatever religion you're part of or spirituality, you don't have to be part of an organized religion. Meet with those people and talk about God and give each other hope. It's really important today. It really is. The better days are coming. They really are. I believe it.
And our prayers are just conversations with our God.
Mhm.
You don't have to say them formal.
Yes.
If you do, fine. If you have them, fine. Your words are beautiful, that you could repeat those back to God. He wants to hear those things again. But anything we say to him, like a
Yeah.
regular person, he wants to hear us talk to him because he wants us to listen to.
You know
So,
it. You know it exactly. You've got it. That's the message. You should keep up the good work.
Jean, you were holding back. What's your question?
Oh, I thought it was kind of obvious. I want the next book
Ah,
from where that
Ah,
leads
With
on
the,
to your message.
all the
I
new
was wondering if
messages.
you are already compiling those piles on the table. It's actually her pool table upstairs.
table.
I hope you're going to write another book.
Jeannie, you know, I do have 3 spiral notebooks of messages that I've written since 2018.
Okay.
Oh, well, you know, who knows? If we're in quarantine for a few more months, I might just have to get it started. I have no excuse. Yeah, we'll see. But I'll do the podcast right now. And I so appreciate you all being here. And Jeannie, you did a great job interviewing me. And Amy, thank you for having us on. This was
Hey,
great.
Denise.